officially start over. It is officially holiday season. Hey everybody, happy Friday here on the Prop Queen Pod. I am the Prop Queen, Ariel Epstein. I say it's holiday season because I am officially at my parents' house for the week, chilling here, doing shows here all week. We do not sleep, we do not stop, we continue to go every day in the sports calendar because this is the time to shine. This is the time that everybody is sitting at home. People aren't working. It's Matt Reichel's birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Matt Reichel. We really need to make this a profitable weekend because I know a lot of you have probably done a lot of holiday shopping. You probably need to make some money, which is why today's show is going to be stacked with a couple of guests that can help you make money. First, we've got Mid-Major Matt like he comes every Friday. We're going to talk college football. We've got the bowl games that no one's talking about. Of course, we'll talk college football playoff and NFL. 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. I know a lot of you wanted Kelly in Vegas. She's currently on the road at her father's house, so she couldn't make it. But she helped us out by getting one of the best in all of college betting this year, in all of sports betting history. Gianni the Greek going to join us live from Las Vegas. So excited to get Gianni on the show. He's going to tell us where all the sharps are betting this upcoming college football playoff. He's going to tell us maybe even some of these spots in the college football bowl games that the sharps are on, so you could be on the same side. NFL Week 16, it's crazy. We've got 2 games ready tomorrow. At the end of the show, I'm going to break down the prop queen edges of the day for NFL Week 16 Saturday slate. We've got a rematch between the Bears and the Packers, but no Micah Parsons, who tore his ACL last week. We've got the Washington Commanders, who don't care anymore, but Marcus Mariota revenge game against the former team in the Eagles. The Eagles are in action trying to win the NFC East for the first time back-to-back in 20 years. Nobody has won the NFC East back-to-back in 20 years. Kings Only says he flies out to Carolina tomorrow for the holidays. I actually love the Panthers this week. I do. Kelly actually gave me some really good tidbits on the Panthers, by the way, going into the week. I know we don't talk sides as much on this show, as much as we talk props. However, one stat really stood out. Bryce Young, 8-1 against the spread with 6 outright upsets as a home dog. Tampa Bay, 1-5 straight up, 0-6 against the spread in the last 6 weeks. Just something to keep in mind between the Bucs and the Panthers game. 2 teams that have to face off twice in the next couple of weeks. So really good game over there for the Carolina Panthers. I would love taking the 3 key number there. See what Gianni has to say. Orioles got the starter, Jimmy Light said. So they did. I wouldn't call it an ace, but they got a starter, Shane Baz. I'm excited to talk to Matt about that. The O's probably overpaid for a pitcher like Baz, who's, I can't say is proven more than what? He had a good year, but he's not an ace that can give you 7. Shane Baz could give you probably 5 solid. I like him. I hope the Orioles do more. And unfortunately, the Orioles are probably going to look to him to be an ace. They're trying to buy low, even though they didn't really buy low on the situation. I want more. I want a Framber Valdez. I want an ace for the Baltimore Orioles. That one was very disappointing. It's not disappointing. I'm glad they went for something. I just think they overpaid, and they're paying Shane Baz to be more than what he really is. We also saw Puka Nacua was fined for all the issues that he had this week. I'm trying to think of what other crazy news and stories. Steelers have ruled out their edge TJ Watt for the 2nd consecutive game. So, almost dropped my phone. So no TJ Watt for the Steelers this week, who have a really tough game against the Detroit Lions. I'm seeing, what was this, 3-way trade, Pittsburgh, Houston, Tampa Bay have a deal officially done. Really tough game against the Detroit Lions. I'm laying 6.5 with the Lions this week. Pittsburgh's just had a really tough go. They had to face Buffalo, Baltimore. Then they had the home primetime game against Miami on a short week in that was a Monday Night Football game. So now they're on a short week going to Detroit, where the Lions just play better. Jeff Passan, MLB insider for ESPN, just announced 3-way trade. Pittsburgh, Houston, Tampa have a deal. Pirates get Brandon Lowe, left-hander Mason Montgomery, and Jake Mangum. Rays get Jacob Melton and Anderson Brito. Astros get Mike Burrows. A lot of small deals going on right now in Major League Baseball, but we are going to be in for it because we all know that Scott Boras doesn't do anything till after the holidays. Like, Scott Boras just loves to enjoy his holidays and then it all, like after New Year's, we'll start to hear more about the Boris clients like Cody Bellinger. Adam Schefter said it looks like another week in which Davante Adams will be sidelined. Sean McVay said he doesn't anticipate Davante Adams with his hamstring injury playing against the Falcons. We had Dr. Chow on the show, and if anyone missed Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow on yesterday's show, he gave a ton of injury updates. He said it would be amazing if Davante Adams was even ready for the playoffs, and even if he is, if he's healthy enough. Dr. Chow also said he would be willing to guarantee that Patrick Mahomes will not be in week 1 next year, but he could come back faster than people think. He also said Phillip Rivers said he wasn't sore after his first game back in the NFL. If you guys want to hear more of the injury updates from Dr. Chow talking about Lamar Jackson, what he's seen, and if he is really hurt, what he thinks of the Ravens, what he thinks of the Pats and all the injuries that their linebackers and corners have had this week, go check out the YouTube page at Prop Queen Media, where you'll be able to see that interview. It's the first one there with Dr. David Chow. Definitely go take a look. This is not recorded. It is not pre-recorded, Jessica Badger. Hello, good to see you. We're going to bring on our next guest. Who you got for Super Bowl? Oh, Jesus. I don't have anyone for Super Bowl. I like the Niners at the beginning of the year, but I'll be honest, this year is really freaking weird. And I don't know. And I know it's a terrible answer, but I really, really just don't know. This year is so wide open. I would love to see a Bills-Lions Super Bowl, but that's who I would love to see is a Bills-Lions Super Bowl. New news out of the NBA. What'd you see out of the NBA? Joseph Rodriguez, what'd you see? Knicks win again tonight. I mean, we're not really going to focus much on the NBA today because we've got such a huge football slate. I saw a few injuries in the NBA, but nothing that I thought was significant. Oh, report injuries. I mean, everybody kind of wants, injury reporting news is fine, but it's the NBA. We always have injury reporting news. NBA will review changes concerning tanking. Possible changes include potential modifications to rules regarding draft pick protections, revised draft lottery rules, and other approaches. So, Colin Sexton, doubtful. Jakob Poeltl, injury management, questionable. Here. Changes to NBA injury report policies. I see what you're saying. Okay. Changes to the injury reporting policies. Resubmit injury listings on game days between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. local. Public reports submitted every 15 minutes. NBA is also pushing gaming companies for changes to prop bets involving individual players, like limiting maximum amount that can be bet, limitations on unders, limiting population of players, eliminating problematic bet types like bets on action on a single play, which is so funny because now all of these apps are starting to use all of these little like everyone wants to bet like play-by-play now, which I thought could potentially be an issue, like the things that happened at Major League Baseball with pitch-by-pitch. Limiting unders is hilarious. First of all, we all know that most of us get limited anyway. Limiting on unders is, they already limit us on unders on parlays. Like you can't parlay unders a lot of the time. Limiting maximum amount of bets that can be bet. Like we already have that. I don't know. Anyway. You always have to go to the book itself. Sorry, Matt's been waiting, so let me bring Matt on. Mid-Major Matt joining the show. Honestly, I don't even care. I don't want to even talk about the NBA stuff because they're making an issue out of this, which Terry Rozier was the issue, but the real gambling scandal in the NBA was rigging poker games, which has nothing to do with betting on them.
Well, and the real one was Tim Donaghy way far ago. And they still had officials who were involved with that who are still allowed to be officials. So, that's still an issue.
Yeah, and I just think there's too much money going into this that we probably aren't going to see too many changes happening, at least right now. The books keep expanding their menu. They keep expanding how we could bet. They love betting the money, and the NBA is still going to get a lot of money from betting. So anyway, until we have anything that actually changes, that's just their proposal change. But at least the NBA has to report injuries. Let's talk college football. College football is where all the attention is going to shift today, tomorrow. We do have a little NFL. We'll get to that in a sec. Your Eagles will be playing tomorrow night. College football first. You are mid-major Matt for a reason. There are some games that aren't as big as the college football playoff happening within the next couple of days. Where will your focus be?
Well, obviously, I've put a lot of focus because of where I am on the JMU Oregon game tomorrow. Because if you listen to everybody else, they don't belong. They're the worst team ever. They're ruining college football. And I think that game's going to be fun. And so it's funny to watch the line movement in this game because the under is getting hammered. It opened at 50.5. It's down to 45.5 on BetMGM. I think it could keep going down, in which case I almost like the over. I think this is going to be, and so look, I'm going to give you my analysis as somebody who covers a lot of JMU. It could be slightly slanted towards them, which is why you may not want to trust all of it. But I feel like this is going to be a slow starting game. I think the first couple of drives, maybe first one or two drives, Oregon's going to try and figure out JMU's defense because JMU's defense is a top 5 defense in the country in a lot of respects. And I get that they had a really easy schedule, but this is a team that has a defensive unit that just is really good. And I think Oregon at times is going to struggle trying to move the ball on it. Now, that's early. I think as the game goes along, I think that they're going to eventually figure it out, and I think they're going to score some points. So either I would wait until this thing keeps falling even more. I'm waiting to maybe see like a 44.5. I think it's going to be a 31-13, 31-17 type game. I think JMU covers. But I like the over as this thing keeps falling. I think it's going to be a very slow start, which might give you a better in-game number over. But I think JMU early on will confuse Oregon a little bit, and Oregon may struggle the first drive or two, and then I think they're going to figure it out, and the athletes are just going to take over here. The thing I think is funny is there's a lot of people who are like, JMU's players don't belong on this stage, and JMU shouldn't be here, which is funny because in the same breath, they'll say, well, Indiana's the best team in the country, and yet they won't realize that some of Indiana's best players are from JMU. Indiana's number 1 wide receiver from JMU. Their number 1 corner from JMU. One of their better linebackers from JMU. Like, there's a lot of guys who came over with Kurt Signetti from James Madison. So how can Indiana be the number 1 team in the nation and have a really good team, but yet JMU can't be on this stage because they don't have the athletes to match up with Oregon? It just doesn't make a lot of sense.
It is such a large spread sitting there at Oregon laying 20.5. You mentioned the total. Is there a way to play this in like a first half, especially if you think, like you've said before, JMU could come out maybe a little bit hot, then Oregon pulls away in the second half, or you think it's close to full game?
So I almost would consider the first quarter under. It's 10.5, which I like. I like that situation because you get the touchdown and the field goal. I just feel like it now. See, look, Oregon moves faster than JMU does, although JMU moves pretty fast too. So if I think there could be 3 or 4 possessions potentially in that quarter, and you'd be rooting against Oregon scoring 2 touchdowns. I think JMU has these lulls offensively where they don't move the ball, and I think they could struggle certainly with the athleticism of Oregon. At least early on, because they have not faced a team like this all season. Their toughest opponent was Louisville. And Louisville, like, they played pretty well defensively in that game. They just struggled a little bit offensively. They're a different team from them because that was week 2. This team is completely different from then. So I just feel like we're going to get off to a very, very, very slow start in this game. Now, I'll say this. If you consider taking the first quarter under and Oregon scores the first drive and scores a touchdown, makes it look easy, then I would run and take an in-game over, because then you're going to know that the Ducks are going to have no issues moving the ball all game. I just think this is a fascinating matchup. It's great for JMU that their head coach, who's going to UCLA, is staying for this game. I think it's a great opportunity for him and the offensive coordinator to empty everything out, trick plays, everything, go for it. Like, there's nothing they can do to get this fan base mad at them. So they should not be conservative in this game. Oregon, by the way, it's interesting. Oregon's defensive coordinator, like, he took another job someplace else. So, but he is still with them for this run. So there's a lot of guys who are getting ready to go elsewhere, but are staying with their teams during the college football playoff.
Tonight we do have Alabama, Oklahoma, an 8 and a 9 going head to head, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Oklahoma laying 1.5, total 40.5 over at FanDuel. Money line is Oklahoma minus 116, Alabama minus 102. So both money lines very bettable if you want to just bet somebody outright. How do you see this game playing out?
So I think this, I kind of like the team total unders for both teams. I want to buy them up a little bit.
But if you like the team total under for both teams, then why wouldn't you just take the under?
So here's the thing that you can do with the team total under. So the total's 40.5, 41. But I'm looking like at DraftKings right now. You can get under 21.5 for both teams. Alabama's under 21.5 is minus 150, and the Oklahoma under 21.5 is minus 145. Now, this is all about juice tolerance because some people don't like laying a lot of juice. But I've always said this on the show. When it comes to team totals, I want to get even numbers. 20.5 is not terrible for Oklahoma because you still have the 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. I prefer to get the 21.5, so I don't mind paying 30 cents extra juice to get there. But it's all about juice tolerance. Like if you only want to go to 20.5 on both of them, Alabama under 20.5 is minus 130. Oklahoma's is minus 115. So like this is kind of the way around the team total. What if one team is doing better offensively than the other and you hit one of them as opposed to both of them? Like it's just something I've kind of done as we've gone along is instead of taking the total under, I take both team totals under, hope to hit both of them, if not hit one of them and come out of it with, pretty close to even.
Question from the chat from before. Mateer finally healthy enough to ball out?
I think he is. I think this extra time is going to help him. So, like, if you go back to the first time these two teams played, Alabama outgained them by over 200 yards, but turnovers were the difference. Mateer was the Heisman favorite the first 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season till he hurt his hand, and then he came back way too early and he didn't look very good. So like I think he's slowly getting over the injury from many weeks ago. And I think he's getting close to that. And I think his mobility is going to be huge here because I just don't trust the Oklahoma run game. I think Oklahoma basically is a Mateer on the ball and then throw the ball. I like their slot guy, Satania. I think he could have a huge game from the wide receiving core. And then on the Alabama side of things, I think they're going to be a lot healthier than they were for that matchup during the regular season. But I just don't see a lot of points. Oklahoma's defense is nasty. And while Alabama's defense can't get much of a pass rush, I still think that they're going to be able to match up well here. That's why I like the under. And that's why I'm taking both team total unders and just hoping to come out of it with at least one of them.
Not saying this is official play. It's a short spread. 1.5. Who do you see winning?
So I lean to Alabama. I lean to Alabama here. It all goes back to how much you trust the previous box score. On the one hand, you say, well, they outgained them by over 200 yards, and the turnovers did them in. They should be able to do that once again. But like Alabama's been off lately. Their last couple of games, like they've won some games, but the offense hasn't been great. They have a ton of drops. Like I think it's funny in college football. Ryan Williams was one of the best wide receivers in America entering the season. He was the kid last year. I think he was 18 last year or 19 last year, and he was destroying everybody. And then he comes into this year, and we kind of forget about him. Like, he may not even be the best wide receiver on that team because Bernard is pretty nice too. But they've had a massive drops issue. And so, that's going to hurt this offense if they keep dropping the ball. Ty Simpson had a great game in that first time that they played. So I lean to Alabama in this situation. The other question is, does everybody believe when Kalen DeBoer says he's not leaving for Michigan? Does everybody believe that? And so, is that a distraction for his team? We've already seen it. Like right now, the NC State-Memphis game, Memphis's coach left for Arkansas. Like Memphis clearly looks like a team who is playing without their head coach, and they're not interested, and they're not playing well. Is Alabama going to be distracted from Kalen DeBoer, who keeps saying, no, I'm not going to Michigan, but maybe he actually is still going to Michigan? Who knows?
A lot of the chat asking the question, Alabama's run game, you think it improves with Jam Miller returning?
Yeah, I do. I think it gets better, but I also think Oklahoma's rush defense is really good. I think the way to beat Oklahoma is through the air, which is why Ty Simpson had such a good game the last time out against Oklahoma. But I think that Jam Miller's nice, and I think they're getting an offensive lineman back as well. But I don't see them scoring a lot. I don't see them all of a sudden flipping the switch and then putting up a bunch of points after struggling the last couple weeks of the season, winning games, but not scoring as much.
That game's Alabama-Oklahoma at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Very low total for a college football game, sitting at 40.5. Another relatively low total for a college football game relative to all these games always being in the 50s. Miami, Texas A&M. A&M laying 3.5, total 48.5. How much are you believing in the Aggies?
So my lean to that game, and I haven't played anything officially yet. For bowl season, I always like to wait to the last second because I want to get the most amount of information. We've seen last second opt-outs. Jacksonville State star running back practice for the bowl game, and then after they went back in the locker room, he came out in normal clothes and didn't play. So I'm waiting for the most amount of information. But I almost lean to Miami here. My one hesitation for Miami is their head coach every year makes one bad coaching decision that destroys their game. Like everybody, and I'm sure the chat will agree, Mario Cristobal has made one game-changing bad mistake every year. And I don't think yet that he has made that yet this year. He is a question mark for me. Like, I like Carson Beck. Carson Beck obviously has a lot of experience. He played against Texas A&M, I'm pretty sure, with Georgia. They've got a ton of talent. They've also heard about how they don't deserve their spot. Notre Dame should have been in. They've heard all the noise. Texas A&M is a very tough place to play. I like Marcel Reed. Marcel Reed is a very good quarterback. Granted, I like him, his mobility a little bit more than his arm, although his arm is very good at times. It led him back in the second half of that South Carolina game. But as of now, I have a slight lean to Miami. Now, what I might do, and I know this is not necessarily loved by all the college football people, since we're seeing like a 3.5, I might tease it up to 10.5 if I can find either an NFL game I like, or another bowl game that I like. You know, some of these larger favorites in the bowl games are large favorites for a reason. So if you take them down to a nice number, like Louisville's a 6.5-point favorite against Toledo on Tuesday the 23rd. Toledo's head coach left. There's a lot of different guys who left Toledo's staff. Like, there might be some opt-outs coming. So, like, I might go and tease Miami up to 10.5 and maybe Louisville down to essentially a pick 'em. So, like, I think that's what I might do to give myself some coaching protection, because Mario Cristobal is due for a mistake this season.
Your Eagles are getting the Commanders tomorrow. We finally have Saturday football back in action. The Eagles laying 7 against the Commanders team that has decided they are going to bench their quarterback Jaden Daniels for the season. Washington is out for the year. They are eliminated. How are the Eagles going to cover a 7-point spread in a game that Washington might try to play spoiler?
Oh, no, they're not. They're not. I've already taken Commanders +7. Part of it's my fatalist side, who always bets against the Eagles, because listen, as I've watched them all season, they just offensively, I'm not going to all of a sudden believe because they scored on the Raiders, who were ready to go home, like that they're all of a sudden everything's going to be fixed. So I've already taken the 7. I just think, look, I think we're kind of downgrading Mariota when we shouldn't be. Mariota has had an all right season for the Commanders. And like, Mariota was a former Eagle. And like, this defense, while they're bad, like, they're not going to give up against a divisional opponent. The interesting thing here is I like the Marcus Mariota rushing yards over. The Eagles have given up most rushing yards to quarterbacks so far this season. So I think Mariota, and I think he's going to be very mobile. I also like the rushing attempts here for potentially Saquon, and I see Tank has a 12.5 on the rushing yards. Like, this is a game the Eagles, in theory, should run the ball 40 times and throw it like 20. I don't know what Jalen Hurts. I'm looking to see what Jalen Hurts' pass attempts are. Like, I think this is a game much like the Raiders game. Oh, it's 28.5. Oh, I would definitely go under. I think if this game is close, the longer it's close, I think that they're going to run the ball a lot. You can run on the Commanders, who have a run. I think they have a statistically worse run defense than the Raiders do. And I think what the Eagles have become, last year they broke huge plays. I think the Eagles this year are 3 yards, 3 yards, 4 yards. Like, I think they go and they just wear you down a little bit. So I like the Saquon maybe rushing attempts. I like Tank over his rushing yards, and I like Jalen under his passing attempts. Like, the formula this year is run the ball, punt it, and have the defense be put in a good situation, and have Jalen Hurts just not mess it up, which he hasn't for the most part outside of that Chargers game.
The other game tomorrow is a rematch. Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears. Packers need to win to somewhat solidify that division a little bit more, but Chicago could play a little bit of spoiler there to even up that series between those two, since Green Bay just got the edge 2 weeks ago. Green Bay without Micah Parsons. This game scares me because we don't know what Green Bay's defense is going to look like now without Micah Parsons. And their defense has been good this year, Matt. So how do you handicap something that we don't really have a sample size of?
Yeah, I mean, this is we're basically handicapping the Packers from last year. And so you have to look at what the Packers did last year. Now, granted, Ben Johnson's there, so you have to change things a little bit. But if you look, like, I'm looking at Monangai, 14 carries for 57 yards in Green Bay. Like, I think you're going to see a little bit more success running the ball. This feels like I see Monangai is 11.5 on his attempts and Swift is 13.5. I just feel like this is where you kind of ride your running backs. I think the Bears are in a situation where they've got such good running that they don't have to tax Caleb Williams a lot. I'm looking here. There's some wind. It looks like there'll be about 10, 12 mile per hour winds with some gusts of being even higher. And without Micah Parsons, I think the Bears run a lot. So I think this is I'm going to hammer Monangai on his rushing attempts. Maybe the sprinkle on him to score a touchdown, maybe DeAndre Swift too. I just feel like this is a game where the Bears go and they flex their ground game muscle. And so I'm going to look at those two guys and try and take as many different running back props for them as well.
Just looking at the NFC picture, you've got the Rams at plus 270, Seahawks plus 280, and then there's a decent drop off to your Eagles at 5-1. How much is that warranted to drop the Eagles off as much as the Seahawks, or is it just because the Seahawks already won?
Well, so I think it's partially because the Seahawks already won. I think we're prisoners in the moment when it comes to futures and stuff like that. We've seen the futures; they always change. Like the moment a game happens. Heck, the futures change as games are going on. I bet if you had a live bet, look at it during the Rams game when the Rams were up, I think you probably could have gotten the Rams as the favorite to win the NFC. So I think it's because Seattle won the game. Seattle's a tough place to play. But let's remember, it's still Sam Darnold. I get it. Fourth quarter, Sam Darnold was awesome. But let's not forget the other 3 quarters. Sam Darnold still is Sam Darnold, and that's the limitation we see. Last night told me that there is no perfect team in A, the NFC, and B, the NFL. Like last year, the Eagles were just that much better than everybody else. Their defense was first ranked. Saquon was the best. Like they were just clearly above everybody else. There's nobody like that this year. To me, I did on my show today. I think there's 7 teams who can win the Super Bowl this year. Have you done this exercise?
I have not done the exercise. I can't figure out for the life of me which teams are going to the Super Bowl this year because I don't believe in any of them.
So, all right. So you take the 2 teams from last night, the Rams and the Seahawks. I mean, I think the Seahawks defense will have to do extra work because I don't believe in Sam Darnold, but I'll give them the case, especially if they're home. If they're home, Seattle's a tough place to play. So those 2. I think the Eagles have a chance, but their offense has to be better because they can't play every game at 20-17. You're not going to beat the Rams 20-17. You're not going to beat the Seahawks most likely 20-17. And I'll say the Packers are the other team in the NFC who have a chance. We've seen Jordan Love, and if Jordan Love gets on a heater, he can carry that team to the Super Bowl. On the AFC side of things, I think it's the Bills. I think it's the Broncos. And I think with upsets ahead of them, I think it's the Texans. That defense is really good. But they need some help. They need to get the 3 seed. They can't win this thing as the 7 seed because I just don't think they're good enough to go on the road 3 straight games to get to the Super Bowl. But that defense is no joke. And they have the talent to score points. They're like the Eagles, though. They can't win games 20-17 every time because the playoffs, it gets tougher and there's more points scored because there's better opponents out there. So I think those teams are the ones that I think can get to the Super Bowl. I think the Patriots are too young in certain spots. I don't trust the Jaguars. I don't trust the Chargers or the Ravens. I don't trust the Bears because I think a lot of those guys haven't done this before. The 49ers are essentially McCaffrey and nobody else. And the Lions, if you get them outdoors, they're just not the same team as they are indoors. So, I think there's 7 teams who can win the Super Bowl this year.
I'm glad that you didn't say my Ravens because I'm over them and I want them to end the season and I want it all to just implode and I want them to figure it the hell out because there is no reason this team should suck. Matt, thank you so much as always for coming on a Friday. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I hope you enjoy JMU. Maybe the group chat could even benefit from their money lines that they sprinkled on JMU.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And looking forward to talking to you on Monday this week.
See you on Monday, Matt.
Sounds good.
Coming on the show now, I am very excited because I didn't get much sleep last night. Marley kept waking up at my parents' house, and I was up at 5, 6, 7. She just kept waking up and jumping off the bed. I'm tired. I needed another coffee, but instead I asked this next guest to come on the show because when he comes on the show every Sunday on Wager Talk's Last Call, I don't need coffee anymore. He wakes me up. And that's what I need here on this Friday night. Not only do I need the wake up, the caffeine that this guy gives me, I need the winners. I need the sharp sides. It is Wager Talk's own Gianni the Greek, live from Las Vegas. How are you, Gianni?
Never better. Actually, not. I've been better. I've been better for over the last 2 hours. Only because I have Memphis. But I got happy because I logged into one of the accounts right now, and I saw that one of the groups that I provide accounts for, they actually bet Memphis again at plus 3.5, minus 105, at 106. So an hour and a half before kickoff. So they got down. I got them down at plus 5.5. They came down and I got myself down and my guys down at 4.5. They got down then again at 3.5. So at least I know we were on the sharp side. That's always good. That's always good to get a better number than even those accounts that move the market. We're getting down at. It's not always going to turn out. Like, you place good bets and lose. You could place bad bets and win. I live in a casino. What am I talking about? I could walk downstairs right now and there's someone placing a bad bet that's winning. They're placing a bet on the roulette wheel and they're getting paid 35-1 and they're celebrating. And people are like, great bet. You're getting 35-1. But if you took a second, counted the squares, you're going to count 38 of them at least. So unless you was getting more than 38-1, it's not a good bet. It's a lucky bet. Bad bets win all the time. So, as long as you're placing good bets, though, long term, you're going to make money. And that's why I'm not counting, but I've had a good NFL season, a great college football season.
That's
because
why
I just placed good bets. I placed good bets.
If you can't come on the show today, I
got good bets for you. I got good bets. The power ratings that I'm using right now are as sharp as they're going to be. All the data is already in there. Like, I'm not adjusting anything unless a player doesn't play. Then it's, value over replacement. But right now, my numbers are as tight as they're going to be.
What stood out to you when it comes to the college football playoff?
What do you mean? What did you say?
What stood out to you from your numbers? What Sharks are doing?
Yeah. I got a lot to. The phonies that the rankings and my numbers always disagree. And the reason I'm up over 100 and something units with an average bet of 3 around there. So over 30 positions, at least 30, 40 positions above 500, taking advantage of those rankings. And here's what I mean. Here's a perfect example. The rankings have a team like, let me look, James Madison, it ranked 24th. They're not even in my top 40. I have teams like New Mexico. They received votes. New Mexico actually received votes. New Mexico's not in my top 80 power rating. They're not. There's 80 teams that would be favored over New Mexico on a neutral field. And yet some AP poll guys gave them votes. They gave New Mexico votes. They gave UNLV votes. They gave, who else did they give votes to that aren't even in there? Connecticut's not even in my top 90. And they got votes only because of their record. They look at their record. Like, if you're 11-2, if you're 9-1, you're in there. It doesn't matter what your strength of schedule is. And that's where you're able to take advantage, because if you look at like the rankings, like a team even in the top 10 would be so heavily favored over teams like that. It's ridiculous. Where in the NFL, you don't get that, Ariel. Right. You'll never have that. And even the 32nd
You'll
team.
You'll never see a 25.5 point spread in an NFL playoff game.
And if you do, never in a playoff game, never. And if you do, that dog is live. Like, it's not dead.
You big dog. You hit Phillip Rivers last week.
That's what I'm saying. It's not dead. It's not dead. In college, you'll get some lucky, like, you know what I mean? Like a UCLA, because they're winning as, 3 touchdown dogs. That'll happen against Penn State, if I remember correctly. But that's not usual. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. And speaking of Penn State, perfect example. Penn State, Ariel, since we're talking, we got some time to kill. Yeah. Like most don't realize that the Penn State team right now, as is, all right, let me tell you where I have them. I would make Penn State a dog on a neutral to only 11 teams in all of college football.
Well, it kind of just felt like they went off the rails after the first few losses. Penn State that's the problem with the NFL. I mean, the college football format is once you've lost a couple of games,
that's it.
Season feels over.
That's it. Exactly. But I'm telling you, like, you look at teams like 11-2 BYU, 10-2 Vanderbilt. They're barely top 20 teams. Barely. But then there are the legit teams. You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame, 10-2. They are legit. They should be in the playoffs. There's only 2 or 3 teams that would be favored over Notre Dame.
We get JMU instead. I want to talk about the games we do have, though.
Let's go. Let's
We've got
go.
Oklahoma and Alabama going head-to-head tonight, an 8 and a 9. Very short spread here. Oklahoma laying about 1.5. Very low total for a college football game, too, at 40.5. What did you say?
I bet the over. I'm on the over. I'll let you know that now. That's a move I gave out to my subscribers. I like that play. I know Oklahoma, known for their defense this year, top 5 defense, and with a top 15 strength of schedule, and it hasn't been the offense that's the strength. They're barely top 40. I do understand that. But usually 2 good defenses like we have tonight is the perfect storm for the over, because you have a lower total because of the narrative, 2 good defenses. But what do 2 good defense sometimes produce? Turnovers, short fields, special teams. That turns into points. It's not a necessarily under, just like 2, high profile offenses isn't necessarily overs, because you have a jacked up total and both coaches don't want the other offense on the field. Like, you don't want a shootout. If anything, you want to bore them, keep them on the sideline and not get them in a rhythm if you could help it. So yeah, I like the over. I can tell you my numbers disagree with the market, because the Sharps, the first playoff bet that they placed was actually Oklahoma. The very first text I got was Oklahoma at like plus 2.5 to take Oklahoma plus 2.5 for these guys. I didn't like it because I actually have Alabama above Oklahoma. My power rankings have Oklahoma at 16, and they have Alabama as the 8th best team. The rankings have the opposite. They have, Oklahoma 8th, Alabama 9. Mm-hmm. So when we disagree like that and the market is moving in that direction, I'll respect it. I'll respect the market, because usually it's right more times than not. I'll let that go, but I do like the over, because like I said, I think it's too low based on some recency bias and the defenses.
Then we've got tomorrow 3 games on the slate, starting with Miami catching 3.5 against the Aggies. I feel like I've heard a lot of people thinking Miami's a live dog. How much do you agree?
Yeah, Miami's definitely got steam, and that's another one where the power ratings, obviously, of the betting syndicates agree with mine, because I have Texas A&M below Miami, where in the rankings they have Miami 10th, Texas A&M 7th. Texas A&M is barely in my top 20, and Miami's actually 15 in my 15th best team. Like I said, Texas A&M, I've been moving them up, but they're 18th. So I have Miami a little above them. Power rating wise, the wrong team's favored, but you have to factor in, injuries, recent condition, where they're playing, all that stuff. And I think that the move towards Miami was the right side. Tulane, Ole Miss, all one-sided Ole Miss from the recreational bettors. I don't know if this is a game to lay that kind of chalk with Ole Miss, I'll be honest, because once you get to this point, style points don't matter anymore. You just got to win the football game. You don't want to risk injuries or anything like that. We know who the better team is. Mississippi's legit. They're 6th ranked. I have them 9th. So we're very close, and I don't even have Tulane in my top 50. We know who the better team is on paper, but the spread's the great equalizer. I think 17.5 isn't too high because of where they're playing. It's not home field advantage, but it's in Mississippi. So you got to shade it a little bit that way. If it wasn't in Mississippi, I'd probably have more confidence and say I'd grab the 17.5. I used them for a bet on it because it was the only dog I liked up until that point that I thought was a little bit overpriced. But I haven't gotten to the window with Tulane. And then with James Madison, Oregon, it's the same situation. James Madison, it's a free roll for teams like this. You got to remember it's a free roll.
People in the chat are sprinkling on that JMU money line, but
don't wait. Save your money. Save your money.
I was going to say, I feel like you feel different.
It's a different class of athletes. It's not the same. Unless the starters get injured in college football, it's not going to happen. We have seen it happen in March Madness where its numbers, the 16th seed beats the 1 seed. That would be the equivalent. And we see it once every 50 years, maybe. So it may happen, but it's not probable. And I don't think the money line reflects any true probability. You're not getting any kind of value by betting James Madison on the money line. at all. Yeah, if anything, I would take the points and hope, they could keep it within the number if you like them that much. But yeah, Oregon's legit. In fact, they have them as the 5th best team in the country. I have them as the 4th best team in the country. So I think Oregon's even better than they're giving them credit for. And there's no disrespect to James Madison. And again, this is a free roll for them. What do they got to lose? But they had the 100th most difficult schedule in college football. Like you should be 12-1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yet with that schedule, they're barely a top 50 offense, barely a top 40 defense. So yeah.
Before we get to the NFL, I know that you've talked about these fights before. You're going to laugh, but the group chat was all in on this before when you just got on the show asking about the Jake Paul fight tonight. Are you going to get any action down?
I am. I'm not going to give it to my subscribers because for them, it's not worth the risk. For me, it is a 10% ROI for me in 30 minutes all day, every day. If I know I'm getting the best of it, I sleep comfortably. Like for me it's worth it. I wouldn't have done it 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Because you can't be wrong. Like with favorites like this.
This guy in the chat, Mike G, just said AJ to stay on his feet, not be knocked down by Jake's -800. It should be -3,000. Do you agree?
Yeah. Because you're talking about the much different skill level. Like if Joshua was a puncher, I would say Jake Paul, why not sprinkle something and hope? But he's not. He's a boxer, and he's just going to outskill him. Like it's going to be Mayweather McGregor, where the McGregor's never going to get a chance. I'm so sorry to land that shot. That's never going to happen. Like that's what everybody thinks. He's got power if he lands it. Yeah, but he's not skilled enough to land that shot. That's the problem. It's a different sport they're playing. And again, Jake Paul's he's around a lot of right people because he has a lot of money. So his trainers have been top notch. You look how he look. He's jacked. They're not drug testing. You know how that goes. So he's going to be in the top notch shape. But it's the skill level and what's on the tool belt that's the differentiator here. You're talking about an Olympic world-class boxer against a guy that just picked up the sport a few years ago and does have power, does have athletic ability, but doesn't have the tool belt that he's going to face tonight in Joshua. It's just a different skill level. But here's the key.
So you're laying it.
I'm laying it. Yeah, I'm laying it. And one of the guys I work that's really, really sharp, that's one of the suitcase guys, like they call them, that they go in late and they're willing to lay 130,000 to win, 15 grand because to them they think it's a lock. He wanted 72,000 to win 20. He was willing to lay up to 360. Joshua by TKO, KO, DQ. To finish inside the distance. Like the guy's willing to put up 70 plus dimes to win 20 dimes. And even if he loses, he's not the guy that'll be mad. Like to him, he thinks he's getting the best of it, that he should be laying over 100,000 to win that 20. So the guys like that, it's worth it because they just look at the probability. And again,
these are the questions that are a little hard to answer. Like Craig Abel says, if Joshua doesn't knock out Paul, how can you trust him to beat Tyson Fury? But it's like you're playing this recreational game today, getting paid tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That the longer this production goes on, the better it is for you. You make it a show. I feel like
he can't lose it. The only way he loses if he gets knocked out. For Jake Paul, this is a good move because for Jake Paul to win, he just can't get knocked out like Ngannou did. Remember, Francis Ngannou went in there and got knocked out like 6 times in 30 seconds. And he's a professional fighter that was arguably at one point the baddest man on the planet. If Jake Paul goes in there against an Olympic world gold medalist, former world champion, and is able to hold his own, doesn't get knocked out, or more importantly, goes into deep waters, you're going to say this guy's legit. Like, what are you talking about? He just fought a title fight in his 15th professional fight, what have you, without going up the ranks. I'm going to give him props even if he loses. So it's a free roll for Jake Paul. Like for people that think, this is a career ender or anything, if he gets exploited, if he goes in there and gets knocked out in the first 30 seconds, yeah, it's like it was fake, Fugazi the whole time. Go back as a YouTuber, like he'll get all of that. And it's probably not deserved, but he'll get it. But if he survives, dude, he could talk forever. I lasted against Josh. Are you kidding me? I picked up the sport 4 years ago. This guy's been training since he was 3 years old to win gold medals for England.
So you would take an over if you could get an over on rounds, or if you could, would you have it go the distance?
I thought it was a sucker bet to go over because I saw 3.5 only was like minus 130 or 40. And I'm like, what? But then I saw it was at Bet Online. It opened 2.5 over and now 3.5 over. And they're sharp. I respect what they do when it comes to combat sports. And for them to move it a whole round, obviously they respected that money that came in on it. And I don't think it was recreational. Again, I think more recreational bettors are betting this fight. But there are big money players that are getting down, just like the McGregor. Oh, yeah, because they see this as opportunity. McGregor Mayweather. There was more wise guy money on that fight than most boxing matches any other fight weekend because they thought it was such a mismatch. There was so much value. And tonight, that's what you're going to see. That's why if you look at that betting line, like even though the public's so heavy on Jake Paul, look what the line is. Look right now. Where I was just mentioning, it's minus 1,400. And 2 hours ago, it was minus 1,175. So it's getting more expensive to bet Joshua because the suitcases are getting to the window. It's not the recreational bettors. This is what's happening. It's not the accounts that are betting 200 to win $10, $20 on Joshua. It's the 20 dimes to win 2 dimes guys that are pushing this line up. Rest assured. Yeah.
Oh, this is hilarious. I love how much action this is getting in the chat right now. And I know my brother's probably going to be watching with all his friends. It's amazing what Jake Paul has turned this into. And all the
don't waste his money on Jake Paul. He's better off putting it on a live dog in football, NFL dog. Better shot. You'll find a 6-1, 7-1 money line dog that's live or this late in the season than he is tonight. Unless just you're going to watch it, have it for fun.
We have a segment here called Propaganda. Propaganda is the most bet on props of the day. So King K says Propaganda, Jake Paul, TKO, the most bet. You think it'll be the most bet on prop of the game?
Yeah, because no one, anybody betting Jake Paul, that's a smart man. King, smart man. If you're going to bet Paul, that's the only way to bet him. Like, what do you think? He's going to outbox Joshua? Like he's going to outskill him? He's going to win a decision? He's going to outpoint Joshua? If he wins, it's going because he landed a flush shot. He got the chin. And at that weight class with that power, if you get hit flush, you're going out. It doesn't matter who you are. Like if Jake Paul lands hit flush, Joshua's going out. But I don't think he's going to get a chance to land it. Like McGregor didn't get a chance to land it against Floyd.
It means that I'd rather bet the Wizards.
There you go. That's my man. Now that's if you walk into the sports book tonight, if you walk in there, it goes off tonight, 8:00 tonight. If you walk in there at 8 p.m. Pacific time and you look up on the board and you see college basketball for Saturday, college football, bowl games, playoffs, NFL for Sunday, and the best you can do is say, I feel that the best bet I could find up there, the most EV is either Jake Paul. Yeah. You're doing it wrong.
So let's find some dogs to bet in the NFL. We've got a couple games tomorrow. We've got then the full slate on Sunday. What dogs have you seen that can make us some money this week?
Well, tomorrow, I think it's a one-way street right now. You got to bet Washington or leave it alone because the line's just now at that key number of 7. You had 5.5 was the look ahead, went to 6, went to 6.5. Again, there's nothing to wait for in the NFL. You can't wait that long. And so you just got to let it go. Like you're now hoping to be the product of good luck, unless you think the line's going to close 8, 8.5. It just doesn't make good betting. So I think that's kind of automatic. I would look to the Eagles or leave it alone. And that's the side the Commanders to Washington or leave it alone. And that's the side the books are really going to need, Ariel. Again, it doesn't matter what the books need, but the Eagles will be one of the most heavily bet sides tomorrow because it's on that touchdown. So you'll get a lot of teasers with the Eagles tied into Sunday's action in the NFL. You'll get a lot of money line parlays with the Eagles tomorrow, even with the college football. Don't be surprised because there's money lines even on those big favorites in college football. So the Eagles will be one of the higher risk. Bears, Packers, two-way action. That's what we've seen there, and that's what you kind of should expect.
But the problem with that game, Yanni, I know you go a lot on numbers. It is hard to get numbers on a team that the entire season almost we've now seen Micah Parsons as a huge force on that defense for Green Bay. Now, Micah Parsons is out for the year with the torn ACL. How do you handicap the Packers?
That's the key. Value over replacement player. And I think, though, there's an overreaction. Here's the key. For me, I have Green Bay as one of the 5 best teams in the NFL power rating wise right now. And here's my argument for them. Even though they don't have a difficult strength of schedule, they're very balanced. You're talking about a top 5 offense and a top 10 defense. And when people see Green Bay on their schedule, they show up. Like, you're going to show up to play Green Bay. You're motivated, is what I mean. They usually get everybody's A game, even if they don't have a tough strength of schedule. So I like what I see with Green Bay. They are legit. Here's my problem with Chicago, and them fans are tough. They have pride in their team, and I respect that. Dude, I bet for a living.
The biggest game at Soldier Field in the last 15 years.
I don't have a dog in the fight. I lay 11 to win 10, Ariel. That's all I care about. I ripped my pennants down when I was 12 years old. I'll get Chicago guys yelling at me. And for me, if I thought there was value, I'd be betting Chicago. But here's my argument with Chicago and why at 10-4, I would make a team like Baltimore favored over Chicago on a neutral field, believe it or not. Because they had only 4 teams had an easier strength of schedule than Chicago. And yet, they still don't have a top 15 offense efficiently. They're barely a top 15 defense efficiently. Their quarterback isn't even at mid-range, at average, when you're talking passing success rate, one of the highest correlations to winning football games. But what happened with Chicago is they've had a very soft schedule and they've won 1-score games. They've gotten lucky in 1-score games. That's unsustainable. You can't continue to do that. And those teams get exposed eventually. Now, they could keep covering and winning, but the cream's going to rise to the top. As the level of competition gets harder, and it will for them, like it did when they played Green Bay just 2 weeks ago, and when they get to the playoffs, they will get exposed because they didn't have a tough strength of schedule, and their data reflects an average team. Like, if you have an easy strength of schedule, let me put it to you this way. I'll pick a team on my power ratings with an easy strength of schedule, like Green Bay, 27th strength of schedule. What did I say? Top 5 offense, top 10 defense. Buffalo, 23rd strength of schedule, 3rd best offense. Like, that's what you want to see when you don't have a tough strength of schedule. But with Chicago, that's not the case. They're getting lucky. So even with the injuries, not to go long, forgive me, there's a lot of games. I think the wrong team's still favored. And for me, it's Green Bay or pass, but I think the best bet is Green Bay tease. You take Green Bay up right now to +8. Woo, that's a great bet. It's a great bet. Win or lose, your plus EV right there. If we could tie in another side, that's all you have to worry about.
You talk about overvalued because of strength of schedule being pretty easy, and we're seeing that with the Patriots this year, who have to go into Baltimore. Speaking of teaser legs, you love your 2.5s, and that's what the Patriots are catching. I'm not saying to tease it because I know a lot of people are sharp on Baltimore this week. However, you know how much I love the Ravens and hate them at the same time. As a Ravens fan, the Patriots, how do you rank the Patriots?
Here's my, again, exactly the same thing. No one had an easier strength of schedule than the Patriots, and they are still barely top 15 offense, barely top 15 defense. They're right at the cusp. They're average at best. That's the problem. And those teams do end up getting exposed. That's the difference. Where with Baltimore, there's few teams that are as balanced as Baltimore is. You have a top 10 offense. You have a top 10 defense. They haven't had the toughest strength of schedule, but they have a very respectable metrics. And more importantly, they've had the quarterback issue with them.
Yeah.
If Lamar's there, that's the differentiator for Baltimore. So that's why most still have Baltimore in their top 10 when it comes power ratings. And I don't disagree with that.
This game?
I like Baltimore. I do. Here's the thing. When I look at my numbers on a neutral field, I make Baltimore already about a 2-point favorite. in this matchup. I add in home field advantage for Baltimore, which I make about 1.9, 1.2. They say 2.1. I've heard it right around there. So let's average it to 2. So they should be about a 4-point favorite in this game. The fact that it was, 2.5, got to 3, the market's moving the right way. 3 is such a key number. Being able to get that, and when I think it should be above that, for me, it looks like it's Baltimore or pass. I like the Baltimore side. When you're in a must win, you must not be all that good is kind of the cliche. But with all that said, there's reasons for it. It's kind of like I say with trends. Is there a fundamental reason a trend should continue? Then I believe in the trend. But if you tell me this team's 7-1 on Tuesdays when the starting pitcher's last name starts with a P and he has a sister who happens to, that's not a trend that has fundamental reasons. Yeah. You just found a bunch of factors that came out to 7-0. I don't care about that. But tell me that their stats are affected by those games he didn't play. Yeah, that's an argument. That's a true. And why they lost
the chat did ask, who are your Super Bowl contenders? Who would
right now I have a future on Detroit and I have a future on San Diego that I placed before the season. They're going to be free rolls for me. The San Diego one, because they already went over season win total. So I won that season win total. That's a free roll. Detroit, I didn't bet the season win total. I thought Detroit was being undervalued because they lost their offensive coordinator. They lost their defensive coordinator. That was the narrative. But I still thought you had to prove to me they weren't in the cream of the crop yet in the NFC, or that they weren't at least amongst the top 3. And I was getting upwards of 10-1. I thought that was ridiculous. That's why I took them. Right now, the Rams are the best team in the NFL. Power rating wise, no team should be favored over the LA Rams. In fact, if they played Seattle tomorrow, and I had Seattle yesterday, it would be the exact same situation. The Rams should be about a 1.5 point favorite, but Seattle was playing at home, and Seattle has about a 2-point home field advantage, and that's why they went to about 1.5, and sharps took like the Seattle side. That's where it stands. In the AFC, I think Buffalo is the best team. I really do. In fact, I think they're the only AFC team that's even top 5 power rating wise, because in the NFC, you have Rams, you have Seattle, you have Detroit, you have Philly, you have Green Bay, San Francisco. In the AFC, you have Buffalo, Kansas City, Houston. As they're the 3 top power rated AFC teams right now, and Baltimore behind them. That's who I have as in the AFC. So 2 of the top 4 teams in the AFC are 6-8 Kansas City and a 7-7 Baltimore, power rating wise. And tell me I'm wrong. You could tell me I'm wrong, but I think if you even talk to like odds makers, they would probably agree with me, because you look at Kansas City, and even though Mahomes ain't playing, they're still, I know it's Tennessee, but you see, they're still the road favorite. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Tennessee has not won a home game yet this year, and until proven otherwise.
And how are people betting Tennessee? How can you not bet Kansas City on Sunday at -3? Are you kidding me? Even if I lose that bet, here, I'll let you know. Even if I lose that bet, I placed a great bet on Kansas City. They were supposed to be 11-point favorites. We know because we have a look ahead at that John Murray puts out, and it was 10.5. So they adjusted this 7 points. We already know who the backup's going to be for Kansas City. Look at the drop-off when you're looking at QBR. The drop-off from Mahomes. Now, I'm not talking about Mahomes, the Hall of Fame Patrick Mahomes. I'm not talking about that Patrick Mahomes. I'm talking about the 2025 version of Patrick Mahomes. The drop-off isn't a touchdown. There's no way the drop-off's a touchdown when you look at the QBR rating. And with a value over replacement.
I remember watching that on Bet On It this week. You were talking about how Gardner Minshew's starts through the last 3 years that he's started, his QBR has been above 80.
Yes, exactly. And he's got that experience. And here's the kicker: the rest of the team. You want to be the team that loses to Tennessee? You want to be the team that gives Tennessee that fans rush the field because they won their first home game? Like, you have no pride? And because Mahomes ain't playing, the rest of the team's like, now we're going to go get our asses kicked so we could let everyone know without Mahomes we ain't shit? Seriously? Like, dude, they're football players, bro. They're not just going to walk out there and let Tennessee walk through them. And what is Tennessee playing for? Remind me. What, a Super Bowl? What, seeding? What are they playing for? Tennessee hasn't had anything to play for 14 weeks. So, like, all this narrative that Kansas City, what are they? They're not showing up or anything like that. Bro, stop the nonsense. It's at -3, they're a gift. They're a gift.
Well, outside of Gianni and I doing last call on Sundays every week, which you could catch from 11 to noon Eastern time, Gianni also does his Steam Room over at Wager Talk, which you could catch at noon Eastern time on Sundays. Gianni, what else do you have going on over there at Wager Talk?
I love Sunday's card. I have a big play going for another 5% winner in the NFL, like third straight. Again, not the I just had a really good season. I make it simple. I stick to what works for me, and the production has been #1 in college football profit, #1 NFL regular season profit. So I'm nothing here to change, and really excited about the bowl season because it's unlike any other time of the year in college football because the market's saturated with so much recreational bettors money that they have to adjust for it. And there's no better time to find value on the board than that. And that's why, like I was talking about college football with so much energy, because I'm just so excited about it because you get that during the bowl season where the rankings and true numbers are just so different. So yeah, head on over, jump on board. We'll make some money.
Let's make some money, Gianni. I will see you on Sunday.
Thanks for having me.
Last call. Thanks so much for coming on. He is the best. And for anyone, I know some people in the chat never seen Gianni before. He is great, and he's done this for a very long time. He's one of the best over at Wager Talk, so make sure to check him out. And he's always on with me on Last Call on Sundays. Now I've got my Royal Locks, and not Royal Locks, Prop Queen edges of the day to start, but they're not of today. They're of tomorrow. We've got the NFL, 2 games on the slate tomorrow. So let's start with the first one. We've got the Eagles and the Commanders going head to head. This game is at 5 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Jalen Hurts over his passing yards. So there's been 2 divisional games that Jalen Hurts has had. One at the Giants, 283. One at Dallas, 289 passing yards. 4 of the last 5 road games, Jalen Hurts has thrown for at least 240 passing yards. Washington's allowed the 5th most passing yards per game at just under 260 a game. With a win, the Eagles could be the first team in the division to win back-to-back division titles in the last 20 years. So you could look to Jalen Hurts over his passing yards. Marcus Mariota, the quarterback for the Commanders, now that Jaden Daniels is out for the season. Mariota over 29.5 rushing yards. So the matchup sets up well. The Eagles have allowed the 2nd most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks, 23.5. Mariota's actually taken advantage. He's faced 2 teams this year as a full-time starter that are bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. Against Denver, 10 carries, 55 yards. Against Vegas, 6 carries, 40 yards. In fact, he had a longest rush of at least 19 yards in both those games. Within the division, Marcus Mariota also showed that he would run 34 rushing yards against Dallas, 43 rushing yards against the Giants. The only concern is although the Eagles have allowed the 2nd most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks, 4 of the last 5 have gone under. So recently, they've been a bit better at containing quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota, though, has been running the football a bunch, and maybe they don't care for Mariota to use his legs if they can prevent someone like Terry McLaurin from catching a deep ball. So the Eagles struggle against mobile quarterbacks. I would take that over. The unders for Mariota, you could look to under completions or passing yards. So again, I've said this on the show many times. I like under completions over pass attempts for if I'm going to bet those categories, just because at least under completions, you have to worry about a receiver as well. So you're essentially betting on 2 players to complete a pass, as opposed to attempts, which is just one quarterback attempting to throw. Against top 10 defenses this year, when it comes to defenses like really good at limiting completions allowed, against Atlanta, Mariota had 16, and then 21 against Kansas City. But he's also gone under this number in 2 of 3 home games when getting majority of snaps. Philly's allowed the 8th fewest completions to opposing quarterbacks. Under passing yards, you could look at, there's not a huge sample size here. He's only faced 1 top 10 pass D, and that was Kansas City. He did go over. But the Eagles do allow the 8th fewest passing yards per game, with 5 of the last 7 quarterbacks going under their passing yards prop against the Eagles. Jeremy McNichols, I really want to love this one over 6.5 receiving yards. The Eagles have allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to running backs, and McNichols has proven against the division that he will catch balls out of the backfield. 23 receiving yards against Dallas, 16 receiving yards against the Giants. The only concern here is that McNichols does tend to catch balls out of the backfield more on the road than at home, and that game will be in Philly in a couple of weeks, but the Eagles are probably hoping that game doesn't matter. If you care about home road splits, then this one's tough. But if you do care that the Eagles do allow a lot of receiving yards to running backs, this is a really good matchup for Jeremy McNichols to go over his receiving yards. Tight end John Bates under his receiving yards. This is a trend that if you've been following me for a long time, you know we go under on receiving yards for tight ends against the Eagles. They have been one of the best defenses in preventing against tight ends for the last 3 years. Only 33% of tight ends have actually gone over their receiving yard prop against them this year. Bates has gone under in 2 of 3 home games with Mariota under center. So that's something that you could look at trend-wise, is just always fading tight ends when going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Green Bay and Chicago. So this one's a rematch. I will never give you guys a play that already happened in game 1. I only go for when it's game 2 of a divisional matchup. I will only bet what didn't happen in game 1. Caleb Williams going over his rushing yards, for example. I had his under in the last game. It was too high. The prop last game was 21.5. He went under with 15. This time, Green Bay is going to be without their defensive end, Micah Parsons. Different defense. And I think it's going to be tough for them in Green Bay on a quote-unquote short week to make those defensive adjustments. And Caleb Williams will be able to take advantage. He's averaging 27.5 rushing yards a game at home. Gone over in 3 of 4 divisional games. Green Bay allows the 4th most rushing yards to quarterbacks at just under 23. So I would take the over here because the Caleb Williams splits, he does run more in home games than road games. Cole Kmet under 24.5 receiving yards. Kmet's racked up 42 receiving yards in the first meeting. That number, it's a little inflated right now. Green Bay allows the 6th fewest receiving yards to tight ends. 9 of the last 10 tight ends have gone under their receiving yard prop when facing Green Bay. Again, I know that we could say the defense is different with Micah Parsons out. They still in Chicago have other receivers that they could turn to that's not their tight end, Cole Kmet. This game script's going to be different after the 42-yard game. So Kmet under his receiving yards. And I think it's telling because he had 42 in the last game, and this one's still at 24. Jordan Love over 9.5 rushing yards. He loves running on the road. He's averaging 15 yards per road game. He's gone over this in both his last 2 trips to Chicago with 12 and 18 rushing yards. The Bears allowed the 4th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. He had -1 yards on the ground on 1 carry in the last game. And let's not forget that Josh Jacobs, the running back for the Packers, is a bit banged up with an ankle injury. So if Jordan Love, I don't know, he could make up for some of it on the ground game if Josh Jacobs is not at full strength. I'm just trying to catch up on the chat. All right, the chat just seems okay. I'm not paying attention. The chat's a little gross today. Best bets of the day. Best bets of tomorrow. Royal Lugs. Royal Ox, Cole Kmet under his receiving yards. Again, he's getting a defense that's top 10 against tight ends. He already had 42 receiving yards in the last game. This one should go under. Kmet's not going to be utilized as much as he was in game 1. That's just what happens in the divisional game scripts that happen, especially within the month of each other. Jordan Love over 9.5 rushing yards. Again, he averages more rushing yards on the road with 15. He's gone over with 12 and 18 rushing yards in both trips to Chicago. The Bears allowing the 4th most rushing yards per game to quarterbacks. Sean, I don't think you're all gross. I really don't. Mike D, what did you want me to read up on real quick? I don't know what you wanted me to read up on, but we're running a little late here on the show anyway. But I hope you all have a profitable weekend. And remember, if you want the cheat sheet, you could go over to the propqueen.com newsletter and you can get the cheat sheet. So check it out. go to the YouTube page, Prop Queen Media. Subscribe. It's free. It means a lot if you subscribe and like. If you like even just this live stream on YouTube, it means a lot. I'm trying to build that YouTube page up. It should be fun. There what, Mike? I'm so confused. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I will be on Wager Talk's Last Call on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and then back here on the Prop Queen Pod Monday. We'll be doing shows pretty much all next week. I'm Jewish, so I don't celebrate Christmas, so I'm going to be working. I will always be giving you guys bets, and we've got Christmas games to talk about. We've got so much NFL to talk about throughout the next few weeks with games all over the place every week. So I am very excited for the games coming up tomorrow. Having some stuff on Saturday is going to be a ton of fun as well. Good luck tonight, and I will see you guys